In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the inner tie rods on this Hyundai Sonata. After doing this repair, you will need an alignment done on the vehicle. Let's get started. Use a 21mm socket, remove all 5 lug nuts, and then we can pull the wheel off. Just a little note, if yours has hubcaps, when you take the lug nuts off, the hubcap is going to want to come off, so take that off first, then the wheel. With the wheel off, we can now see the outer and the inner tie rods. Right in the middle, there will be a jam nut. This jam nut locks them both together, but we need to break it free. Use a 24mm wrench and turn this to break it free. Might be necessary to use a rubber mallet on the end of your wrench. All right. Now, the jam nut broke free off of the outer tie rod, but it is stuck on the threads on the inner tie rod. As you can see, it's spinning the whole thing. That's okay. We can fix that in a little bit. Where the outer tie rod goes through the knuckle, you might notice that it's very close to the caliper. If you want to use a socket, you will have to remove the caliper, but if you can put a wrench on this and break it free and remove it that way, you do not need to remove the caliper, and that's exactly how I'm going to do it. First, however, let's remove the cotter pin that locks the castle nut in. I'm going to use some cutters, straighten this out, and with those cutters, try to grab onto the cotter pin. Unfortunately, my cotter pin is stuck in here, and the only way to get this off is to just break it by forcing the nut over it, which is fine. So take a 17mm wrench, slide it over the cotter pin and the mounting nut, just like that. And then, with the help of a rubber mallet, if needed, break this free. Now that we know that the mounting nut comes off fully, leave it on a couple threads and then use a hammer, tap on the knuckle right here. That's going to break the stud free from the knuckle. Once that falls out, take the mounting nut off. This held it on so that it doesn't come swinging down, and there it is. Now as you remove this outer tie rod, count the amount of turns it takes to pull it off so that when we put it back on, we put it back the same amount of turns. This will get you close to where the alignment was before. Of course, the alignment professional will fine-tune it at the end. "19 turns for me. Of course, it's going to be different for you. There's the outer tie rod. We have to pull this mounting nut off, and the easiest way to do this is grab the inner tie rod with some locking pliers and use a 24mm socket and unthread the mounting nut. Looks like I didn't even need pliers. Sometimes that happens. Further in, on the boot, you'll see this clamp. Use some pliers, pinch it, pull it off. If this feels like it's weak and can't hold tension anymore, replace it, but otherwise you can definitely reuse these. If you look further in on the bellows boot, you'll see that right there is a little clamp. It's like a band that holds the inner part of the boot onto the steering knuckle, and what we want to do is take a pry bar and a hammer, punch that off so we can unhook it from in there. These are single-use clamps anyway, so you don't need to save these. All right, now all you have to do is pull on the boot and it should pop off. There's one side and the other side. There's the boot. You have a couple options to get this tie rod disconnected. If you turn the steering wheel to the opposite side that you're working in, it'll push the steering rack out, therefore giving you access right here with some large pliers, pipe wrench, or even an adjustable wrench to grab onto the tie rod, turn it counterclockwise and loosen it up. You could use a tie rod tool, whatever works for you. I have the space, so I'm going to use a pipe wrench. Just unthread the inner tie rod from the steering rack. There it is. Clean the area, make sure everything is good. Take the new tie rod and thread it into the rack. That's bottomed out. Let's tighten it. You can use whatever tool you use to loosen it, to tighten it. That got snug. Just going to give it a little extra. That's it. I don't want to twist the entire rack internally. That would damage it. I just need to snug this up. And now I'm going to show you how to lock it in, because although it might not look like it has a lock, you actually do lock it in. So if you look at where the steering rack and the inner tie rod meet, you'll see a cutout right here. Well, right over here, there's a lip on the tie rod. I'm going to take a chisel and a hammer and punch that lip in order to prevent this from loosening up by itself in case it were to spin. You don't need a lot, just a few taps, and that kind of locks it into place. Take some grease and put it right in the ball and socket joint of this tie rod. Work it in. Take the boot, slide it over the inner tie rod, seat it, and now push it all the way onto the steering rack. Instead of a metal clamp, you can use a wire tie to secure this bellows boot on the steering rack. Just put it over the boot and make it nice and snug. Once you have it seated and somewhat in place, you can take some needle nose pliers and finish tightening it up with that. With that tightened, cut off the excess. On this end, you can either use the original clamp or the wire tie. Apply anti-seize to these threads. That'll prevent the outer tie rod and the inner tie rod from seizing together, as well as the jam nut. Once you put a little bit on, thread on the jam nut. That's going to work it into all the threads. I'm going to thread this on all the way. Now thread this on the same amount of turns it took to remove it. There we go. Remove the mounting nut. Put the tie rod stud through the knuckle. And thread on the mounting nut. Snug it up. The torque on this is only 25 foot-pounds because I can't get a socket in here. I'll give it a little bit extra with this wrench. So this should be plenty tight right here, this being a neoprene locking nut. I don't need to add a cotter pin to it, which actually might be better in this situation because you don't have much space. Let's lock in the jam nut. Take a 24mm wrench, snug this up, and just give it a little bit extra. Now I like to bring this back so that the outer tie rod is parallel with the knuckle, not at a severe angle. Let's get the wheel back on. If your wheels had hubcaps, you're going to want to put them on now because the lug nuts go over and clamp everything together. Just make sure you line up the cutout for the valve stem with the valve stem, of course, otherwise it won't fit on properly. And now start in all 5 of your lug nuts. We'll bottom them out and torque them to 79 foot-pounds in a cross pattern to seat the wheel properly. Once again, 79 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Double check them. At this point, take it for a road test and don't forget to get in alignment.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.